Then, the supply room door flew open, and 3 men in black masks crowded the doorway. No words. One seized her arm. Another slapped a gloved hand over her mouth. The third drove something into her neck. Cold glass. A syringe. The last thing she heard before they shoved her into a vehicle was the clinic door slamming shut, then tires on wet pavement, the smell of leather and cologne, and her own heartbeat hammering in her ears like a timer. The drive felt endless, but could have been 20 minutes. She had no way to know. Every time she tried to speak, a hand settled on her shoulder, not harsh but steady, a quiet order. Be quiet. Behave. Survive. Her nursing instincts cut through the haze of whatever they had injected. Assess the situation. Stay calm. Look for the pattern. 3 men. Trained. Efficient. Not street criminals. They knew where she worked. Knew her schedule. Knew exactly when the clinic would be empty except for her. This was not an accident. This was arranged. When the vehicle finally stopped, they pulled her out into cold air that smelled of rain and concrete. She stumbled, still hooded, and someone caught her elbow, almost careful, steering her forward. An elevator. She felt the lift rise, counted 28 floors before it stopped. A door opened. A man lay barely conscious, his shirt soaked through, 3 dark blooms spreading across his torso. One of the masked men cut her zip ties and shoved a duffel bag into her chest. "Fix him!" he said, in accented English, his tone flat. "No hospital, no police, just fix him." She looked at the bag, then at the man bleeding out on the couch, then at the gun now resting casually against her temple. The calculation was quick and brutal. Kamilah's hands moved before her mind fully caught up, unzipping the duffel, finding basic medical supplies, not enough, but something. She crossed to the couch, kneeling in blood that was still warm, and got her first clear look at the patient. Korean, early 30s, sharp lines, the kind of face that would be striking if it were not pale with blood loss. 3 gunshot wounds, shoulder, left side just under the ribs, right thigh. The thigh was the worst, arterial blood surging out in time with his weakening heartbeat. She pressed her hands against the thigh wound, forcing pressure, and his eyes snapped open, dark and unfocused. He stared at her like he was trying to place her. Then his gaze tightened with something that looked like recognition. That should have been her first warning, but she was too busy trying to keep him alive. "I need more supplies," she said to the masked men. "IV fluids, morphine, surgical thread, proper instruments, not this," she motioned at the sad duffel. One of them made a call in fast Korean. She caught only fragments. Her Korean was basic at best, but she understood hurry and dying and penthouse. While they waited, she worked. Pressure on the thigh until the bleeding eased, checking the shoulder wound, straight through, clean, almost merciful. The side wound was the real danger. Possible organ damage, possible internal bleeding, the kind of injury that belonged in an operating room with a full trauma team. But there was no operating room, just cold marble and a man with a gun tracking her every move, so she did what she could. She packed the wounds, started a makeshift IV with the supplies in the duffel, kept checking his pulse, 60 beats per minute, 58, 55, he was slipping. "Come on," she muttered, mostly to herself. "You do not get to die on me, not after kidnapping me. You do not get that privilege." His eyes found hers again, and for a second something passed through them. Humor maybe, or shock. His lips moved. She leaned in. "Stubborn," he whispered in English. Almost steady. Good. Then he blacked out. More supplies arrived within 15 minutes. Real surgical kits, IV fluids, even blood for transfusion. O negative, the universal donor. Someone had deep pockets and deeper reach. Kamilah refused to dwell on what that implied. She just kept moving. She transfused blood, closed wounds with hands that had done this 100 times. In Nairobi, in mobile clinics, in a field hospital in South Sudan. She worked hard not to revisit. Muscle memory took control. The rhythm of trauma care. The ruthless focus of saving a life while the clock keeps ticking. 2 hours later, The man on the couch was stable, pale, unconscious, but alive. His heartbeat had settled at 72 beats per minute, his breathing slow and even. The wounds were closed, packed, bandaged. He would survive, most likely, if infection stayed away, if internal bleeding did not start, if luck held a little longer. Kamilah sat back on her heels, her scrubs. She was still in her clinic scrubs, soaked through with his blood. Her hands shook now that the adrenaline was draining away. One of the masked men, the one who seemed to be in charge, stepped forward. "You did well," he said. "Now we wait." "Wait for what?" Kamilah asked, her throat raw. "For him to wake up. Then he decides what happens to you." The casual brutality of it landed hard. She had just saved this man's life, and her payment was the chance of not being killed. She wanted to scream, to bolt, but 3 armed men stood between her and the elevator, and she was on the 28th floor of a building she could not name. So she did the only thing left. She stood, walked to the wide windows, and stared out at Seoul's bright, uncaring skyline. "Before we go any further, I need you to do something for me, and honestly, for yourself." If you are already pulled into this story, if you are sitting there wondering what happens when this dangerous man opens his eyes, then you need to subscribe right now. Because trust me, you do not want to miss what comes next. The man woke 4 hours later, just before dawn. Kamilah had been half asleep in a chair, drained to the bone, when she heard him groan. She was on her feet immediately, checking his pulse, his pupils, the IV line. He watched her with those dark, precise eyes, fully awake now, measuring. "Water," he said in English, his voice raw. She brought him water, helped him drink, her nurse reflexes cutting through fear and resentment. When he finished, he studied her face as if committing it to memory. "Kamilah Omondi," he said. 29 years old, Kenyan passport, trauma nurse, working visa, currently employed at Hanamdong Medical Clinic. "You have been in Seoul for 8 months. You live alone in Itaewon. You send money to your mother in Nairobi every month, and you have no family in Korea, no boyfriend, no close friends. You eat lunch alone, you work night shifts, and you are very, very good at your job." The blood in Kamilah's veins went cold. He knew everything, had known before they ever touched her. This was not chance, this was chosen, deliberate. She made herself hold his gaze. "Who are you?" she asked. "Tae-hyeon Baek," he said, "and I have a job offer for you." He laid it out with the calm efficiency of a contract pitch. He needed a medical professional, someone capable, someone discreet, someone fluent in trauma care. His line of work, he did not clarify what that was, but the gunshot wounds said enough, required medical support without questions. Doctors asked questions. Doctors had boards and laws to answer to. A nurse, especially one trained in trauma, was ideal. And a foreign nurse, with no local roots, no family nearby, no leverage, that was better still. The offer was simple. 500 million won per year, roughly $400,000 to be his exclusive on-call nurse. She would live in the penthouse, all expenses covered. She would treat him and, when necessary, his associates. She would ask no questions, keep no records, speak to no one about her work. In return, she would be paid well and kept safe. "And if I say no?" Kamilah asked, even though she already knew. Tae-hyeon looked at her with something that could have passed for regret, if men like him felt it. "Then you will disappear," he said softly, "and no one will come looking. No family in Korea, remember? No boyfriend, no close friends. Your mother will think work consumed you. Your clinic will think you quit. And in 6 months everyone will have forgotten Kamilah Omondi ever existed." The truth of it cut deep. He was right. She had built her life in Seoul to be small, unremarkable, hiding from memories of South Sudan, and guilt she could never scrub clean. And now that invisibility was a rope tightening. "How long do I have to decide?" she asked. Tae-hyeon smiled, narrow and joyless. "You already decided when you saved my life. You just are not ready to admit it yet." He was right about that too, and Kamilah hated him for it. She said yes. The first week in the penthouse felt like living inside a gilded cage, all comfort and no choice. Kamilah was given a bedroom larger than her entire Itaewon apartment, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Namsan Tower, a bathroom with a deep-soaking tub and heated floors. The closet was filled with clothes in her exact size, luxury brands she knew only from passing displays. There was a library, a gym, a kitchen that looked untouched, everything she could want except an exit. The bedroom door had no lock on the inside. She noticed that the first night, the windows did not open, reinforced safety glass. The elevator required a fingerprint scan. There were cameras in every room except the bedrooms and bathrooms, small, discreet, always present. She was comfortable, well-fed, and completely contained. Tae-hyeon was a difficult patient, not because he complained but because he refused to behave like a patient at all. He ignored her instructions to rest, taking calls in 3 languages, working on a laptop despite her warnings about blood pressure and stress. He rejected pain medication, said it dulled his thinking, said he needed clarity. The only time he complied was during bandage changes, and even then she caught him watching her hands with that focused look, like he was still mapping her. On the 3rd day, she asked where he learned English. He carried almost no accent, unusual for someone clearly raised in Korea. California, he said. 5 years, college and business school. Then I came home. And what business are you in exactly? She asked, already knowing the answer would be useless. He gave that narrow smile. Import, export, logistics, problem solving. The kind of work that benefits from flexible morals and reliable medical care. So crime, Kamilah said evenly. Tae-hyeon tilted his head. Such a harsh word. I prefer entrepreneur. Despite herself, despite everything, Kamilah nearly laughed. The sheer absurdity of it. Arguing vocabulary with a man who had abducted her, who treated her existence like an asset. But the humor died when she noticed how he was studying her. Interested, intent, like she was a problem worth solving. Why did you leave Kenya? He asked. Why does it matter? She replied. Because you are living in my home for the foreseeable future, and I prefer to know who is holding my life in their hands. Trust, Kamilah repeated. You kidnapped me. And you could have let me die on that couch, Tae-hyeon said. But you did not. Even with a gun aimed at you, you worked like I was just another patient. That tells me plenty. So tell me, why Seoul? Why alone? Why running? The question pressed against old scars she kept tightly wrapped. She turned away, focused on checking his IV. I wanted a change of scenery, she said, the answer she always gave. Tae-hyeon let it go, but she felt his gaze lingering, reading what she refused to say. On the 7th night, everything shifted. Kamilah woke to shouting, Tae-hyeon's voice slicing through the penthouse, rapid Korean spilling into his phone. She pulled on her robe and found him in the living room, his face pulled tight with something she had not seen yet. Anger, yes, but also something deeper. Fear, perhaps, or grief. When he noticed her, he ended the call. Pack a bag, he said. You are changing rooms. What? Why? She started. But he cut her off. Security update. You do not leave my side. There is a room next to mine. You will stay there. You cannot be serious. Completely serious, Tae-hyeon said, the wording deliberate. Someone knows you are here. Until I deal with it, you stay close. Who knows? Kamilah asked. What threat? For the first time, Tae-hyeon hesitated. Then, he said a single name, heavy with meaning. G1. Who is G1? Kamilah asked. His jaw tightened. Someone from my past. Someone dangerous. Someone who does not let go. She vanished 2 years ago. I believed she was dead. She was not, and now she knows about you. The weight of that settled over Kamilah. Why would she care about me? Because, Tae-hyeon said quietly, if she knows you are here, if she knows I brought you and kept you alive, she will assume you matter. And anything that matters to me becomes a target. Do I? Kamilah asked before she could stop herself.
Matter to you?
Tae-hyeon studied her for a long moment, something guarded behind his eyes. Then he turned away.
"Pack your bag," he said again. 10 minutes.
Hours later, she heard his voice again, low and strained, speaking in his sleep. Korean words she could not follow, except one name, Min-jun, over and over, like confession or regret. In the morning, she asked Ye-jun, Tae-yeon's right hand, who brought breakfast, who Min-jun was. His expression closed instantly. "You should ask Tae-hyeon," he said. "I am asking you." Ye-jun glanced toward the closed door, then back at her. "His brother," he said quietly. "That is not my story." He left before she could press further, but the guilt in his eyes lingered. "Okay, real talk for a moment. If you have made it this far and have not hit the like button, what are you doing? You are right there with Kamilah in that penthouse, feeling the tension, the danger, and you cannot spare a second to tap like. It helps this channel more than you realize. It pushes the story forward, tells the algorithm, this matters. And if you want to know what happens next, if you are invested, then like the video. Show the support. Hit it now. 3 weeks into her captivity, that was still the word Kamilah used despite the marble and the views. Captivity. The space between her and Tae-hyeon began to thin. Not because either of them intended it, but because living too close to someone eventually wears holes in the armor. She noticed things, small, ordinary details that softened him from a monster into a man. He drank his coffee black, never sugar. He slept badly 4 nights out of 7. He read philosophy, Nietzsche and Camus, Korean and English editions, stacked beside his bed. He played the piano. She learned one night at 2 a.m. When she found him in the penthouse music room playing something intricate and aching, and he was good, the kind of good that only comes from years of discipline. When he realized she was there, he stopped. "I did not know crime lords played Chopin," Kamilah said from the doorway. "My mother's only gift before she left," Tae-hyeon said. "Piano lessons, every day for 10 years. Then she disappeared and left me with a father who barely noticed I existed." The edge in his voice was exposed, unpolished. Kamilah stepped inside. Where did she go? No idea. Maybe back to the life she had before my father rented her affection. I was 8. I came home from school and her closet was empty. No note, no explanation. "I am sorry," Kamilah said, and she meant it. Kamilah told him about South Sudan 3 days later. Not because she planned to, but because he asked about the scar on her left forearm, pale and tight against her skin. "Shrapnel," she said, and because he waited, because he did not rush her, she kept going. She had been working at a medical camp, Doctors Beyond Borders, in a conflict zone. She was good at it, quick, competent, saving lives every day, until the attack. She remembered the sound first, gunfire, screaming, the shriek of something incoming. Then the blast, heat and smoke and confusion. She hid, crouched behind a supply crate, frozen while people died nearby. A little girl, maybe 6, crawled toward her, bleeding from injuries Kamilah could have treated, should have treated. But she stayed where she was, unable to move, and watched the girl die. When the gunman left, when Kamilah finally stood, it was over. 12 dead, 5 of them children, and Kamilah alive, marked only by shrapnel in her arm. "I could have saved them," she said, her voice hollow. "If I had not frozen, if I had been braver. I chose myself instead." Tae-hyeon said nothing for a long moment. Then, "You think you are a coward. I know I am." "No," he said firmly. "You are human. Survival instinct is not cowardice, it is biology. You lived. That alone does not make you guilty." "Tell that to the little girl," Kamilah said, her voice sharp with hurt. Tae-hyeon reached across the small space between them and covered her hand with his. "Listen to me," he said. "I have done things, deliberate things, choices I made with open eyes that still follow me. You froze in a war zone. That is not evil, that is trauma. Do not punish yourself for staying alive." The gentleness in his voice loosened something tight inside Kamilah's chest. She stared at his hand over hers, warm and steady, and this time she did not move away. That was the night the balance shifted, from captor and captive into something messier, something neither of them knew how to define. The car bomb went off on a Tuesday. Kamilah was inventorying medical supplies. Tae-hyeon was on a call in his office, and then the world lurched. Not inside the penthouse, but below it, in the parking garage, a deep concussive blast that rattled the windows and set car alarms screaming for blocks. Tae-hyeon was beside her almost instantly, dragging her back from the glass, his body angled protectively in front of hers. "Stay down," he said, and for once, she listened. Ye-jun burst in, gun already drawn, speaking rapid Korean into his radio. Tae-hyeon replied in the same clipped tone. 5 minutes later came the all clear. No structural damage, no injuries. But one black sedan in the garage was now a smoking ruin. Tae-hyeon's sedan. After the building was secured, after Ye-jun confirmed it was a remote detonation and not a suicide attack, Tae-hyeon lowered himself onto the couch. Kamilah had never seen fatigue on him before, but now it was unmistakable, like the strain had finally caught up. "Jiwon," he said, "she is pushing harder." Kamilah sat beside him. "Tell me about her. Not the warnings. The truth. I deserve to know who is trying to kill me." Tae-hyeon dragged a hand down his face. Jiwon was. He hesitated, choosing carefully. "She was my lover, my partner. We built everything together. Her mind, she was brilliant, ruthless. The only person I ever trusted without hesitation. 2 years ago, something went wrong. A betrayal inside our organization. She vanished. No body, no proof. I assumed she was dead, but she wasn't." "No," he said quietly. "She has been alive, planning, aligning herself with my enemies, and now she has stepped back into my life." "Why?" Kamilah asked. "Why now?" Tae-hyeon's expression hardened. "Because of what happened 2 years ago. Because of Min-jun, your brother." He turned to her sharply.
Who told you that?
"Ye-jun mentioned it, and you say his name in your sleep. What happened to him?" Tae-hyeon stood and walked to the windows, staring out at Seoul as if the city might answer for him. "Min-jun was our younger brother," he said at last. "Ji-won and I, we are both illegitimate children of the same father, a chaebol executive who collected mistresses and abandoned the aftermath. We found each other as adults and built this life together. Min-jun was the youngest, the untouched one. He wanted no part of our world, but it dragged him in anyway, and 2 years ago he threatened to go to the police. He was frightened, idealistic, did not understand what that would cost." "And you killed him," Kamilah said, her stomach sinking. Tae-hyeon's reflection in the glass looked carved from grief. "Yes." The word fell between them like a verdict. Something inside Kamilah recoiled. The man she had been slowly falling for, she could admit it now, had killed his own brother. Then, Tae-hyeon kept speaking. "He drew a gun on me first, panicked, shaking. I tried to calm him, but he was terrified, not thinking clearly. It was him or me, and I chose myself. I have regretted it every day since." His voice fractured at the end, and Kamilah saw it clearly. The injury that never closed, the guilt that hollowed him out. In that moment, he felt uncomfortably familiar. Someone surviving with blood on his hands, deserved or not. "Ji-won blames me," Tae-hyeon said. "She loved Min-jun, we both did, and I took him from her. Now she wants to strip everything from me, starting with anyone I care about." He turned back to Kamilah. "That is why you are in danger. Because she knows, somehow she knows, that you are more than staff, that you matter." "Do I?" Kamilah asked again, but this time it was not defiance, it was need. Tae-hyeon crossed the room in 3 steps and kissed her. It was not gentle or cautious. It was urgent, weeks of restraint and fear breaking all at once. Kamilah kissed him back, her hands clutching his shirt, pulling him in. This was a mistake. Falling for a man who had abducted her, who had killed his brother, who lived inside violence and secrets. But her heart did not weigh logic. It only knew that for the first time since South Sudan, she felt awake instead of empty. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Tae-hyeon rested his forehead against hers. "I cannot keep you safe if you are close to me," he whispered. "But I cannot let you go either." "Then do not," Kamilah said. Before we continue, leave a comment. Do you think Kamilah can actually trust Tae-hyeon, or is this the moment everything goes wrong? I want to know what you think.